always be refining and tweaking and optimizing, and don't be afraid of it, because sometimes you're just like 1 or 2 tweaks away from things working. And this is what I've done for clients for years, is all that tweaking and optimizing. But now in the last year or two selling more digital products and courses myself, I have really had to tell myself to be very disciplined to this journey of tweaking and optimizing and not being afraid of learning new things and being uncomfortable, because if I want this to work, I've got to put in that work. Sometimes we do things once and we think surely that's enough, but pay attention to your data, track it, keep thinking, analyzing it. What can you change? Maybe it's a word, maybe it's pricing. Like, obviously test things separately, but testing and tweaking, that's where the power of creating a converting launch or funnel really lies.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Art of Online Business podcast. Elise Hodge is back. We just had a phenomenal episode. She kind of pulled back the curtains on her profitable SLO funnel. And if you're like, what does that even mean, QUÄY.jo? It means that she takes, what did we decide? Well, it fluctuates, but it means on average, she's taking $200 in ad spend and turning that into $350 every day, Facebook and Instagram ads. And that is pretty phenomenal. I was saying that before, Elise, and I stand by that. That is pretty phenomenal. Right now, I'll just tell you, she's a funnel strategist who helps coaches and course creators make daily sales in their businesses. Since 2017, she's helped business owners launch six-figure offers, build simple and high-converting funnels. She's a mom of 2 toddlers, about to be, a mom of 3, right? You have 3 weeks left? 4 weeks left?
Yeah, that's it. 3, hopefully no more than that.
Hopefully no more. I remember, side note, when we were in China, my wife, both of our kids were made in China. We always give that joke and it makes people laugh. But our first had to be induced, and she was, I think, a week and a half past the due date. And I tell you, our whatever you call her, our regular nurse that we went to see was very much on us. We must induce. And my wife was like, I want to have a natural birth without being induced. And then you realize later on, it didn't even matter. What seems so stressful then after you have a couple more kids, just so here's to having your third child right on time, though. I was saying that as a mom of 2, almost 3 kids, you run your business part-time, and you're passionate about helping others create flexible, profitable businesses that fit their lives. And when you're not optimizing funnels or sharing strategies on your podcast, the Expert Status Show, you say you're chasing your energetic boys around or speed reading the latest historical fiction book. Elise Hodge, I'm happy to have you back on the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And so, selfishly so, since you're a copywriter, I'm just going to lead with the question that matters most to me, and honestly, a lot of people who I work with, because copywriting powers the successful, high converting email sequence that is on the back end of the lead magnets and paid offers that I run ads to. So, what is the one thing, or maybe you can share 2, that make an email sequence convert the best that you've seen with your students as a copywriter?
I'll say there's a lot of talk lately, right, about how we can, I guess, make our funnels more interactive, make our funnels more engaging, all of that stuff. And I'm not saying that's not important, because I do think it is, and I'm playing around with some stuff there too. But there is no substitute for just making sure your copy actually connects with the person who's reading it. Because if it doesn't, you can have all of the, reply to this and I'll give you an audit, or I'll send you a voice message, or I've got a video here. You can have all of that stuff, those engaging elements that people are talking about these days. And, same thing, you can have like a mini class, don't do long webinars these days, do shorter classes. Everyone's saying all these different things. You can have all of that stuff, but if your messaging doesn't connect with the person who is reading it or listening to it, it's going to fall on deaf ears. So the number one most important thing is making sure that you are using language that actually instantly connects with the person who is receiving it, where they go, it's like you were in my head. It's like you were a fly on the wall. And I will say there's no greater compliment to a copywriter when someone says that, or when, a client says, my audience is replying and saying, how did you know that I was thinking that? So number one is just making sure that your messaging actually connects.
This is hard for me. This is hard for me. I do work with a copywriter that I pay to work to help my copy, and she makes it sound like me, but better. And why it's hard for me is because I get stuck, and I'm like, what language really will connect with my reader? And do I write in my voice or do I write in their voice because I've polled them? Like, so how do you sort this out?
Yeah. Well, I think there's two different things going on there. One is your voice and who you are and your personality. That's like one thing. I look at that actually after the first thing, which is using words that they understand, using expressions that they understand, hitting on desires, pain points, questions that they have that are actually in their head. So, like I sell, digital products, courses, and do more the coaching side of this now, like coach people through doing this themselves. But when I've written copy for clients in the past for many years, I would do, a real research phase first of actually understanding who their ideal buyer is. And, there's many ways you can do that, but just actually understanding all of those different things that they have, like the desires, and then on a deeper level. And there's so many layers you can go into understanding all of that stuff to make sure that we have really robust information around what they're actually thinking and saying. And then, yes, there's your personality, but I personally, I don't know, maybe other copywriters are different, but I do like to take the approach of making sure that we take into account all of that, stuff from your audience first when writing something, like literally writing it with all of that in mind. And then it's almost like an editing phase is going through and putting more of, if it's not really in there, or putting your own voice into it. And ways that I've done that in the past, and I recommend people do that, is by having even things like a simple word bank can be really helpful. I've done that for clients in the past, like words I would say, words I would never say. It's so simple, but especially if you are getting someone else to help write things for you, whether it's for social media or a copywriter or anyone, marketing kind of person writing anything for you, you could give that to them. You can use it for yourself. You can give it to ChatGPT these days. That's how we can use AI in a really smart way, not a generic way. Like, even things down to, I used to do this with my clients, like, how do you greet someone? How do you say hello in an email? How do you say hello? Because one of my clients, she would literally talk in this sort of like, hey babe, like this really like peppy voice. And then for me though, that word would not be in my vocabulary because I don't, in my word bank, because I don't use it, right? I might say, hey, how are you? Or like, someone might say hi, or you might have like just a certain way of saying something. So all of those little things that you actually do, making a note of them is really helpful. And then if you can give it to someone else, or if you are using, say, AI to help you refine things, you can give all of that to AI as well. And like we could get more, we could get more into this. Of course, there's more like your brand voice and all of that, but essentially just looking at the things that you actually, how you actually talk and how you don't talk. And I think that's like a secondary thing to first making sure you're actually connecting with your client, because your emails will I don't know if this is controversial, but I think your content is going to convert whether you are fully in your brand voice or not, as long as you initially have that first piece of connecting, making sure that your words actually resonate with them.
Because it's their voice, it's their words.
It's the things they're thinking. And if, you could be all in full of personality, right? You could have all this personality packed copy, but if your words don't resonate with them, it doesn't matter. It's just like it's like that nice, oh, I feel like I know you. It's all those like know, like, and know and like pieces, which definitely do come into play and help you win over people. But yeah, making sure that your words actually connect with what they're thinking first.
I'll put another way. Let's say you have a super high paying one-on-one client who has hired you to just bust out the most amazing registration email sequence for a launch that's going to set people up to buy their thing during the launch, and the sales sequence for once they launch their offer. Super high paying client, like your biggest client ever, but also your shortest timeline. And by the way, babies due in 1 week right now. What's your go-to strategy to collect those words? Like tried and true, it will not fail you. Go.
Okay. If we're doing something and we need answers quickly, I would run a giveaway. I say giveaway, but it's a survey. It's a survey disguised as a giveaway. Yes, we're giving something away, but to one person, obviously. And this always works, especially if incentive's really good and it's aligned with who you're wanting to attract. So I have this survey actually that like I give my students and clients to do, or that I've done for clients in the past. And it, you know, for example, like I used to have a website copy program. So it'd be like, by completing this form, you'll go in the draw to win a complete website copy audit. You know, I know one of my clients, she gave away like $500, like PayPal cash. And she got, I think, like nearly 100 people complete her survey. Mind you, I think in that instance, you're not necessarily going to have everyone being super qualified. So if you did something like that, I'd pair it with like something that's relevant to your expertise. So like maybe you're giving away course access or a coaching session or something, just to make sure you're actually getting the people who are not just like seeking out the prize, but are a good fit for your offers. But yeah, a survey is really good. Can't go wrong. You'd have a deadline on it. Ask a bunch of different questions. Like there are heaps of questions actually that you can ask, and pop that everywhere. But you're not positioning it as a survey. You're saying I'm running a giveaway. I'm giving away a coaching session. You know, do you have 5 minutes to fill this out? And, you know, you'll be in the running to win this coaching session or this course access or this bundle. Like I would just make it the most no-brainer thing you can to get results fast. So that's what I've done in the past with clients. That's like step one. If we're on a short timeline, that's a great start. Then what I actually do, even in that survey at the bottom, I have this question that's like, would you be willing to hop on a 20-minute call with Elise to discuss your answers in more detail, or with whatever your name is? Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people actually say yes. But then that gives you permission to reach out to people who, you know, really seemed like a good fit, who gave great answers, and to maybe get on 15, 20-minute, say, Zoom call to ask deeper questions to gather even more information from them. So you might do that with like another 5 to 10 people. Again, if you're on a short timeline, you'll want to move that around fast. You might even, if you have a survey, you might even include a Calendly link and make spots open for the next few days and try and run as many of those as you can to get more voice of customer data. Yeah, those would be my first two things, and they flow really nicely into each other.
Wow, Elise, I don't even think I have heard that, and I have probably talked to 5, maybe 6 copywriters on the podcast.
Well, I'm giving away all my secrets today. You're welcome, guys.
Cool, especially because we came out of the last episode where you showed us like all the cool things you're doing to run that ads funnel to get offer. Okay, so but on the survey that's disguised as a giveaway, you're saying once they submit, they go to like a thank you page that right there asks if they'll be willing to hop on a 20-minute call to share more with you, or is that like the first email that they get after they submit the survey?
No. I mean, you could do that. That's a nice idea. But I actually just have it as the second last question. In the survey, there's 2. One's like, would you be willing to hop on a 20-minute call with Elise to discuss your answers in more detail? Yes or no. So that's just giving me permission to reach out to them. And then it doesn't have to be awkward. I'm like, hey, you said yes. Here's, you know, then I'd send them like a Calendly link to book. You know, if you wanted to shorten the time, you could include the link in there and be like, great, book your call, or you could have it on the thank you page perhaps. But that's just so I can sort of choose who I reach out to, because sometimes if you are running one and you get like 50 or 60 responses, and then for some reason like 20 people want to hop on calls and you don't have the ability to do that many calls, you could maybe select the people. But hey, if you have all the time in the world, maybe it doesn't matter to you. And then actually, interestingly, I have another question at the bottom which says, would you like Elise to keep you in the loop about her upcoming offer that will help you write website copy that converts? So I just insert whatever offer you have there. So I kind of have a question. It's like, do you want me to keep you in the loop about my whatever this offer is relevant to? You know, my funnel program, my email marketing membership, my whatever, you know, I'm drawing the research for. So again, I'm just getting their permission, or they're like them putting up their hand and saying, yeah, I'm interested. So I can reach out to them later and say, hey, you filled out the survey. I know you're interested. Maybe you could give them like an early bird bonus, or I just want to thank you again. And, you know, you didn't win it, but I do want to give you like $100 off the course, or I don't know. There's so many things you could do.
That right there. The email to all the people who didn't win, but then you offer them a coupon for the course, like something off. That is beautiful. This I have seen work in funnels of people who have paid me to run their ads, and it works quite well.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So, wow, okay. So if somebody says on that second to last question, like, would you like Elise to keep you in the loop about an upcoming offer that'll, and I don't know, let's just say benefit, benefit, benefit. Um, then how long are you waiting until you send that segment of people, whether it's manual or automated, another email about that offer?
Well, it depends if you are in like the creation process of your offer still, or if the offer's actually ready. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking more for this survey, say like a relaunch or something like that. I mean, I haven't thought too much about this. There's obviously a lot you could do. You could sort of nurture them a bit separately if you wanted, or it could just be, maybe you already have an early bird waiting period and you say you're launching next month. And I mean, ideally, you'd be doing the research before this though. So I don't know. You'd have them in your world. You'd be nurturing them on your email list, but maybe it's reaching out to them like a week before the normal early birds or like 5 days before. I'm thinking for like a card open period. If it was evergreen, it probably wouldn't be because you're doing the survey. But if it's an if you were just like updating things and it was evergreen, yeah, maybe you're sending it to them like 5 days later or a week later. And just setting them a special offer. Maybe that's manual. I could think of so many things you could do. Depends how many replies you have again. Like maybe you send them a little Loom video. Thank you so much for filling this out. And maybe it's after the giveaway expires if it's an evergreen thing. And I want to give you this because I really appreciate your time. Yeah, I just think like it depends on the situation.
Sure.
Surprise
What
and
was
delight. Think of
surprise
that.
and delight. So to the listener right now, and they're wondering, okay, but is this really worth it for me to give an hour of my time for free just to get people's responses to the survey? What would you say?
Oh, absolutely, because then you can improve your copy, you can improve your messaging, and obviously that is a big undertaking. Don't get me wrong, but when you look at data, and if you've run something once and twice, and you're like listening, then you can refine. Obviously, the first time you're creating your copy, if you're listening to this, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've got to create a sales page. This is a lot. Like, please do this though. At least you know you're going to get an indication. You don't know what's in their head. Sometimes you have an idea of what people are thinking, and we make assumptions. Assumptions are not good in copy. That's when you have maybe a launch that flops or an evergreen funnel that's not converting. That's why it's good to update this stuff every now and then too. So yes, it is. It is a little bit of effort, but honestly, at the very least, if you just do the survey, like, yeah, people are afraid of getting on calls, but I think this makes it easier because you get their permission. But if anything, you do run a survey to gather information from them. It will help you see where patterns are, where you've missed things, where you've assumed things, where you can tweak your copy. And like anything, looking at the data, seeing how it runs, listening to your audience, all super helpful.
By the way, what do you do with said data once you have it? Like, okay, I've done the thing, I've listened to you, I've had this giveaway that's a survey disguised as a giveaway, but now I have all these responses. Like, is there a quicker way? The 1 a week babies do, and I have the best paying client ever. Like, how do I make sense of this data quick enough to make that welcome email sequence?
Yeah, well, I'm organizing it based on a few things, obviously, like, the things that they say they want, things like the frustrations, things like the desires, the outcomes they want, their goals, but then things also like, what have you tried before? So these are all based off the questions that I like to ask as well. So it might be one of the questions I ask might be like, what steps have you taken in the last 12 months to improve your email marketing? So then that tells me what they've tried before, which is a really important thing that I can speak to on a sales page. Like, you've tried this before, you've tried this, but still, oh my gosh, it's so frustrating, or it's not working. And that's just meeting them when they're at. So things like what they've tried before, maybe mistakes or even myths, like beliefs they've had about it. Again, that comes down to other questions too. I ask questions like, what kind of places, like resources, copywriters. Obviously, if I'm a copywriter, so I would use that. But if you're, say, like, you're I don't know, dog trainer. You might say, like, what kind of places, resources, other dog trainers, education have you turned to help, train your dog? So again, like, all of those questions sort of relate into different categories of, like, these are the things they've tried. These are, some beliefs they have about this that I actually don't agree with. And then this is what's at stake if nothing was to change. Like, if nothing was to change, this is where you're going to be. So yeah, well, I mean, it gets super complex with this because it does sort of line up with things that are important to hit in your copy. But organizing is a great place to start. So just like organizing it based on what you're seeing is really helpful. And then you can bring that into different sections, I guess, of a sales page, or different emails. Like, an email might talk about, oh, they've tried this before. Okay, cool. I'm going to write an email about the things you've tried before and why that may not have worked for you. Or then, I know I've got this category of different myths they have about email marketing. Cool. I'm going to write an email that talks about that. Or, what's at stake if nothing were to change. If you can't if you can't convert people off your email list, what's actually at stake? Let's write an email about that. Let's imagine it's 6 months down the track and you're still doing the same things you've been doing, but you still can't get people to convert. Like, it's so frustrating. So you can just turn each of these little categories, once you've categorized, into a piece of content, which for an email can be an email each, which for a sales page, like, yes, it seems a bit more complicated, but it's more like a section. I always think of it like we just tackle a different sort of thing in a different section. But yeah.
This I can confirm, the kind of questions that you use, they're good because they are very similar to the questions that I have on my intake form, on my onboarding questionnaire, and I pull from those questions, or usually my copywriter pulls from those questions to come out with the first versions of ad copy.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways you can use this, right? Yeah, to improve a funnel, to create new copy, to create, like, for all of your copy. It can inform your content as well that you're creating on Instagram. If you're wondering, what on earth do I say on Instagram at the top of my funnel? When you have this research, you use it everywhere. Yeah.
I mean, can't say any more about that really. Like, dear listener, if you haven't yet, do this. I think I'm gonna have to do this myself because I haven't done it yet, truth be told. Survey disguised as a giveaway to get all the things that will make my email sequence really speak to the reader in a way that they're like, "How is QUÄY.jo in my mind?" Done. Tell us about this, lead magnet that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a free welcome email template that you can grab, obviously, via the link. And that will help you warm up new subscribers, because I find that people, they're growing their email list, and then people are just coming onto their email list, and then they, only email them when they have a launch, when they're launching a new offer, when they want something, say they want people to fill out a survey like we just talked about, and they only email them when they actually want to get something done. Or alternatively, they're just like too scared to email at all, but they're growing their email list because they've heard that they should do that. So that welcome email template, or a welcome email, will really help you bridge the gap to actually connect with people who land on your email list. They can get to know who you are, how you help them, perhaps hear about a few of your offers. I always say, like, don't be shy to include your offers in your welcome emails. Because people are interested in you, in your world, and they want to know how they can work with you too. So don't be shy to do that. But yeah, that welcome email template will really help just introduce you and help them know that they're in the right place. Gives you a nice little introduction, and then you don't need to feel so awkward popping into their inbox because they already know what to, I guess, expect from you.
What to expect from you. That is so key. So key. That's the welcome email sequence template.
Oh gosh, always be refining and tweaking and optimizing, and don't be afraid of it, because sometimes the increase in your conversion rate, or, like, you can be so close and you can think, oh my gosh, my offer's bad, everything's bad, it all sucks. But sometimes you're just like 1 or 2 tweaks away from things working. And this is a journey that, this is what I've done for clients for years, is all that tweaking and optimizing. But now in the last year or two running, selling more digital products and courses myself, I have really had to tell myself to be very disciplined to this journey of tweaking and optimizing, and not being afraid of learning new things and being uncomfortable, even though it's like, because if I want this to work, I've got to put in that work, obviously. But, sometimes we do things once and we think, surely that's enough. But, pay attention to your data, track it, just keep thinking, analyzing it. What can you change? Maybe it's a word, maybe it's pricing. Like, obviously test things separately, but testing and tweaking, like that's where, the power of creating a converting launch or funnel really lies.